We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Oh, baby, let's have some fun. It's time for Cashing Out. Another hour of it right here on VSiN with me, Joe Ceraulo, getting you ready for your week in the best way possible. We're taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night for our friends on the East Coast, right on in to your Monday morning. And what a weekend it was. Couple of game sevens, more than a couple of game sevens, 3 of them across the ice and the hardwood. We got some second round early action in the NBA. How about the Kentucky Derby, folks? How about my pick? And I gotta give credit where it's due here, because you folks know I'm not much of a guy to bet the ponies, right? So I'm not gonna come out here and pretend like I'm some expert. But after talking with, right here on Cashing Out, our pony expert, Mike Somich here, a few days ago, and then doing a little sprinkle of my own research, because I'll never blindly tail anything. But what Somich said checked out with what I looked up. We played Sovereignty. We got 8-1 on the number 18, and we cashed out. First time, and I only ever play the Derby. In full transparency, it's the only, I don't even play it every year, but it is the only horse race that I've ever bet. I've maybe bet it 3 or 4 times in my life. First time I ever got an outright winner on a pony. Sovereignty, 8-1, put a half a unit on it, and what a weekend it was. I'll tell you what, I never knew how good of a pickup line I picked the right horse today would be for me, but first time I've ever used that one, and turns out that's about as good a line as you can have on Derby Day, especially when everyone's out with their fancy hats and whatnot. It was a great weekend. How about the game sevens we were treated to Sunday night? I mean, the Warriors-Rockets game, I think if you look at the final score, you don't appreciate how good, how close of a game it really was. I mean, Houston got that thing at one point within 3 in the third quarter, 63-60. And I know that, the game landed on a double-digit Golden State win, and it didn't feel that close towards the end, but Houston was still teetering within making it a 6-7 point game early in the fourth. It was really the final 5-6 minutes, the final half of the final quarter, if you will, where Golden State separated themselves from the Rockets. And that's because Steph turned it on. Buddy Hield, who went quiet, some would say mute in the third quarter, he came back to his first half self in the fourth. I don't think Buddy Hield had a single point in quarter number 3. Guy had 22 at the half. He was unconscious in the first half. 6 threes, 22 points. Poured in 3 more threes for 11 total fourth quarter points en route to a 33-point performance. I mean, Buddy Hield, welcome to the starting lineup. How you doing? Have a night in H-Town. Steph Curry didn't have a point for about the first, 22, 23 minutes of the game, right? Had 3 at the half, and he hit that bucket late in quarter number 2. But he did all the other stuff. He set up Buddy Hield for success. He facilitated. He got his hands dirty. 10 rebounds, 7 dimes. Still shot 50% from the floor. And this is what I love about Steph's performance, right? Because he goes 4 of 10 from 3, 8 of 16 from the floor. So the 3 ball's not falling for Steph. What does he do despite his slight frame, right? He's always been just about the smallest guy on the court. And it is funny. You look at those pictures of Steph next to like NFL players and he's taller than them because he is 6'1", right, at the end of the day. But he's always the smallest guy on the court. So what does he do if the 3 is not falling? The way Steph moves, I don't call it he runs, I don't call it he cuts, he slithers, right? When you're the smallest guy on the court and your motor never stops, even at 37 years old, it's like a snake. He's just always slithering through defenders, finding ways to get open, and he slithers to the rim and he attacks the rim. And he goes for the backdoor cuts and the layups when the threes aren't falling. And this is what makes the guy an all-time top 5 player, right? Because it's very easy to label him the best shooter of all time and to sort of minimize his game, the shooting. Steph Curry deserves to be in the top 5 player discussions, because when his shooting is not doing it for Golden State, there are so many other, and I'll say this word with a future Hall of Famer, underrated aspects of his game, like his ability to facilitate, like the fact that he's a pretty darn good rebounder for the smallest guy on the court. And Steph just had as well-rounded a game as you could have asked for in a Game 7. When the shots were not falling, he set up the guys who were making the shots go down. It was a beautiful game by Golden State. We were able to get in on the money line a little bit and hedge. You know, we talked about the Rockets 27-1 ticket, right? And started hedging when Golden State went up 3-1. Didn't work out Game 5 or 6. Was able to make it work Game 7. It was a little bit of a bigger play, a little heavier on this one than I intended on going with the hedge possibilities, but we end up in the green slightly, but in the green nonetheless on the series, as Golden State money line plus $1.15 cashes in their Game 7. But how about the Game 7 on the ice? Because as much as you can appreciate Steph and Buddy Hield and as fun as that Game 7 was, it did not compare to the whiteout in Winnipeg. My goodness. Cole Perfetti, have a night. Power play goal early when you instantly fell behind 2-0. Perfetti gets him on the board, cuts the lead in half, makes it 2-1. You think Winnipeg's got a puncher's chance, and then boom. Hellebuyck strikes again, gives up another one, and it's 3-1 St. Louis. And we're looking at Connor Hellebuyck on a Sunday night the way we were looking at James Harden on a Saturday night. Oh, Game 7. Nice of you to stay at home, right? But to his credit, coming off of Game 6 where he got pulled. We know he got pulled Games 3 and 4. Guy didn't finish a game on the road the entire series. Would have been easy for him to get pulled in Game 7, mentally pack it in, and Winnipeg to go home in the first round yet again. Instead, after falling down 3-1, Hellebuyck does his job, gives him all he can the rest of the way, and his teammates pick him up with not one but 2 empty netters in the final 2 minutes, including our guy Cole Perfetti again, inside of 2 seconds. The latest ever Game 7 regulation goal to force overtime. It was a desperation centering attempt by Kyle Connors. Perfetti was the guy in front. It's like a game of Clue, right? Perfetti in front of the net with the stick, tips it in. Overtime it is. And we got 35 minutes of exciting, up-tempo, incredible playoff hockey. And at the end of the day, it felt, once overtime was underway, right? That first overtime period, what did Winnipeg outshoot St. Louis? Like 11-4. It felt like it was a matter of not if, but when the Jets were going to pull off the comeback. And Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, I can only imagine the emotions he's feeling, the sense of relief he's feeling. I can't wait to see how this translates into the series with Dallas, because Dallas is your new favorite to emerge from the West. Not the President Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets. The Dallas Stars are your favorites to emerge from the Western Conference. Just ever so slightly longer than 2-1. They are 5-1 to hoist the cup, which frankly, I'd rather take the 5-1 shot than the plus 205 to win the West, or the minus 160 to win the series. It's funny, early series money pouring in on Dallas. They've gone from minus 140 to minus 160. Game 1 money, it was minus 115 for the Stars, minus 5 cents for the Jets. Now we're dead even 10 cents each side. So Game 1 money has ever so slightly gone towards Winnipeg to even things out and make it a true pick'em. I can't wait for this Game 1. I'm annoyed we have to wait till Wednesday for this Game 1. These teams deserve the break after 7-game sets in the opening round, but I can't wait to see these two teams get back on the ice. I just need to see how Connor Hellebuyck reacts and responds to finally having that burden and that monkey lifted off his shoulders, right? He gets through the first round now. And was he spotless? Did he, pitch a shutout? No, absolutely not. But you know what? After allowing 2 nearly instant goals on St. Louis's first 4 shots, and then 3 goals in the opening 30 minutes, the guy held him at bay for the final 30 minutes, plus another 35 minutes in overtime. So I can respect the hell out of the game he had when St. Louis went over an hour of game time without a score there to wrap things up. So I'm excited to see how Hellbeck reacts. I'm excited to see how Winnipeg and that city and that fan base reacts. I mean, President's Trophy's winners, and they didn't even get the respect in terms of a national broadcast level of having announcers sent to the game on site game 1. That game 1 was broadcast remotely from Atlanta, right? So now Winnipeg has everyone's attention. And if the President's Trophy didn't do it, that game 7 sure as hell did, because I cannot wait. Dallas's offensive firepower. Hellbeck, forget the Vezina. It's in his back pocket. He's a Hart Trophy finalist. It speaks to how lights out this guy is in the regular season. And now Winnipeg, a team that took 3 out of 4 from Dallas in the regular season, that held Dallas's power play scoreless in 4 games, that made Ottinger look like nothing. I mean, Dallas's save percentage was under 88% in those 4 games. Hellbeck and Winnipeg was collectively like over 93. I mean, Winnipeg had the big advantage in the regular season. I'm excited to see plus $1.40 if they can pull this off. Home ice, President's Trophy, and now you're underdogs in round 2. I think the Jets are going to be coming out chippy as hell. I think they're worth a look in a pick'em game 1 against the Stars. Folks, we've got a ton of Monday action, NBA series tipping off. We've got 1 puck drop for a second round series on the ice. We're going to get to that all right up next here on Cashing Out. But I want to remind you that if you're looking for a bank account exclusively built for bettors, you've got to check out Edge Boost, because it's the first of its kind, ensuring that all gambling transactions are approved. That means no usage fees, no minimums. It means you can earn cash back rewards and get 100% approval for all betting deposits. So sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code CASH. Deposit $25 and Edge Boost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. I can't wait for these second rounds. Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs. Look, I have no problem admitting I know more about the NBA, but I'm more excited for the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. This playoff hockey has been absolutely sensational. Florida, Toronto, a few hours away. Also, on the hardwood, my Knicks. Breaking that down up next, Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you into the start of your week, right on in to your Monday morning here on the program. And Monday is going to be a fun one, not just because it's Cinco de Mayo and we know the margaritas and the tequila is going to be flowing, but because we've got a couple of game 1s featuring your number 1 and number 2 MVP finishers, whatever order that might be. SGA, Nikola Jokic, no disputing that, right? Love Giannis. Shout out to Giannis. He's going to be finishing 3rd, as he was named one of the 3 finalists. We all know he's finishing 3rd. I think it's fair to assume SGA's winning the award, but hey, the odds market couldn't have had the Defensive Player of the Year award any more wrong, right? Draymond, the odds-on favorite, at one point laying as many as $3, finishes 3rd place. Maybe Jokic, who just had the best year of a career that already boasts 3 MVPs, maybe Jokic is the pick quietly at the end of the day that the writers have decided on. So you're going to have your top 2 finishers in the MVP award race squaring off. Before that, you're going to have a rivalry as old as time in this league. And even though I have no faith in my New York Knickerbockers in this series, I still can't wait for the series because it's going to be chippy. It's going to be physical. If you thought Knicks Pistons was physical, wait until you get New York and Boston going at it. And I cannot wait because, look, I've said this. I'm on the record. I don't think this Knicks team has it in them this season. I love these guys. 0-10 against the Celtics, Cavs, and Thunder in the regular season speaks volumes to me. 0-4 against Boston in a game that, make no mistake about it, Celtics could have packed it in, could have rested. The only guy who didn't show up for that game, because it was the front end of a back-to-back and it was late in the year and the 2 seed was clinched, only guy who was a no-show was Al Horford because he was partying with his Florida Gators the night before, who had just won it all in that dramatic, incredible comeback against Houston. Rest of the Celtics were a full go. They took the Magic game off. Our producer, Adam Bernard, got 28 minutes as the shooting guard for Boston that night in Orlando on the second leg of that back-to-back. No one suited up for the Celtics in that game. But they all played for the Knicks game because it really does, to quote the SEC, just mean more when you're going up against your rival. Even if it means nothing for the standings, if you're clinched, locked, loaded, back-to-back is underway, you're still going to go out there for a team and a franchise that you hate. And the Celtics had already won 3 against the Knicks this year, but they wanted that sweep. And guess what? They got it. So I've got no faith that if the Knicks couldn't even win that one on their home court against Boston when it meant nothing for the Celtics, I've got no faith they could put together 4 wins in a 7-game span. But I still think there will be glimpses. I still think there will be moments where Jalen Brunson does Jalen Brunson-like things. Karl Anthony Towns, frankly, I'm a little more worried about. Although, I think he should being the key word here, be able to bully Kristaps Porzingis a little bit. I'm kind of sick of watching Kristaps Porzingis, who couldn't stay on the damn court when he was a Knick, who I thought was a wasted bust of a draft pick as a Knick. I'm kind of sick of watching him have stellar game after stellar game against the Knicks since he became a Celtic. Really, really ticks me off. So I'd like to see Karl Anthony Towns, who of course is not a back-to-the-basket guy, likes to face the hoop, likes to shoot his threes, play perimeter as a big. I'd like to see him use his big damn frame and bully Porzingis a little bit. Stuff like that would make me happy in this series where I'm expecting the worst. But the Knicks might have their moments. I think game 1 is a game where they might be able to catch Boston on their heels a little bit. The Celtics are probably going to be a bit cocky coming into this series, having swept the Knicks on the year. They're well rested, but that could also mean that they've got to fine-tune a few things, right? Detroit battle-tested the Knicks. I don't think Orlando battle-tested Boston. You could look at that and say, well, some games were closer than they should have been. That's true. But I think it was because Boston was a little disinterested. And that's one thing they can't be in this series. They can't be disinterested with the Knicks. They might be $8 favorites. It might be the most lopsided 2 versus 3 seed in terms of the odds I've ever seen. But if you sit back on your heels, the Knicks have enough talent that they're going to make you pay. Now, Boston's got certain things the Knicks don't have. Consistent depth, and I say consistent depth because the Knicks do have depth. It just picks and chooses when it's going to show up, right? Mitchell Robinson could have a double-double in 20 minutes one night and have a 0-0 the next night. Cam Payne could give you 15 off the bench one night, and watching him could be pure pain the next night. Deuce McBride, I don't know, something's up. I don't know if he's banged up. What's up? Deuce McBride's not himself. So the Knicks bench, which at one point earlier in the season I loved, now is leaving a lot to be desired. I'm curious if based on matchups, if Precious Achiuwa might get some minutes just for sheer physicality and defense, although Anunoby and Bridges defensively should have things on lock for the most part. Like I said, I'm excited for this series, not because I think the Knicks win. I think it's Boston in 5, but because I think things will get chippy. I think the Celtics could win the series in 5, and the Knicks could cover every game if it's 9 points that they'll be catching. I like the Knicks plus the points game 1. I think that 9 is a missed number by the market. Don't look at what happened in January and November, right? I think these games, much like Knicks Pistons, are going to be close, competitive games. I just think Boston, like we saw firsthand when they took on Indiana last year in the conference finals, right? Indiana, what did Boston sweep the Pacers? Indiana could have won 3 out of those 4 games. This series might very well so go that way. This might be a series where Boston wins in 5 and you turn around and you go, wait, hold on, the Knicks could have won that in 5. I think Boston's ability to finish is going to reveal itself, is going to be, front and center this series. But I think that the Knicks are going to hang in there, and I think that 9-point number is a little disrespectful. I would lean towards the Knicks catching 9 against the Celtics team that has covered, under 45% of its games this year as favorites of 8 or more. I think it's too big a number. We're seeing the same number in Oklahoma City. I mentioned this one. 2 of your top 2 MVP finishers. SGA versus Nikola Jokic. Two teams that I don't think could profile any differently. Denver, ferocious on the glass. Gordon, Jokic. OKC, deeper than the Nuggets. Just more athleticism in the backcourt. I mean, look, they've got size, Hartenstein and Holmgren, but Holmgren could not be any more different from Jokic, right? Jokic and his brothers, by the way, could snap Holmgren like a twig. So Oklahoma City is going to have to be efficient from the outside. They're probably going to have to push the pace, run the tempo, and play some running gun ball like they did against the Grizzlies. Game 1 comes to mind. I mean, obviously, it was a picture-perfect basketball game. But Oklahoma City is definitely going to want to make this a running gun game to not let Jokic settle in and get comfortable. Let's hear from the 3-time MVP and 1-time world champ about what it's going to be like going up against maybe potentially this year's MVP in SGA.
Very different player. He's playing on so many level speed and so many level like scorer, and everything looks so easy for him. Even when you have like, oh, that's a good defense, it feels so easy for him. And he's amazing with the change of speed, the change of rhythm, ball handling. You know, he can post up guys. He can go by guys. Shooting the ball mid range is a perfect, like unguardable, basically.
Speed. That's the key word right there with Jokic. When it comes to SGA and really the supporting cast too, that's not something that I'm going to limit to just SGA. But you talk about speed, and this Oklahoma City team's got it. Now, look, I think one of the more intriguing ways you could play this series, OKC is a $7 favorite. How about Boston being a bigger favorite than OKC, by the way? That's kind of wild. OKC is minus $7. Denver's 5-1. This is interesting to me. You can play the Nuggets plus a game and a half on the spread. Meaning if you think Denver leaves it all out there and they push this thing 7, you can get them plus 230 on that. That's got to be as good a price as you can ask for, plus a game and a half. Same price as the Knicks, who are bigger dogs. That's intriguing to me. Denver plus a game and a half. Because ultimately, I mean, look, it's hard to look at a team with Jokic on it and say Oklahoma City's gonna take care of them in 5, right? And if this goes to a game 6 and OKC is up 3-2 going into game 6, I struggle to see Denver at home getting eliminated, right? I mean, we saw what they did when their backs were somewhat against the wall against LA. Now, game 5, they weren't down 3-1. They weren't facing elimination. But you don't want to go down 3-2 going back to Los Angeles, right? And what did they do? They blew the Clippers out game 5. Game 7, what did they do? Final 25, 26 minutes, they blew the Clippers out. So I struggle to see Oklahoma City if they're up 3-2 and we're headed to game 6. I'm not sure it's a foregone conclusion Oklahoma City buries them in game 6. I think Denver at plus 230, plus a game and a half here, is a very intriguing bet, because as much as I could look at this on paper and say the Thunder are far and away the better team, something about betting against Jokic and the Nuggets in the playoffs just doesn't sit well with me. They're gonna find ways to win some games, and they just might push this thing 7 against OKC. More NBA playoffs up next. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night, right on into your Monday morning for our friends over there on the East Coast, with our friend Nick Whalen on the Progressive Guest Line. You can catch him in just a few hours, weekdays, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Prop Points right here on VSiN, as well as you can check out his terrific work as a senior analyst over at RotoWire. Nick, NBA playoffs, second round matchups now fully set. 1 second round game already in the books. How about the upset from Indiana? Cleveland in the third quarter, late third, early fourth, looked like they were going to storm back and potentially even run away with things. Momentum had entirely shifted, and Indiana hung in there, man. Found a way to go to Cleveland and win. By the way, their 4th win in 5 tries now this season against the Cavs. And we can even take out the late season matchup. Cleveland sat a lot of guys in that one, but you want to talk about full strength? Indiana's still 3 out of 4 against Cleveland. There's still pretty good size underdogs in this series, but are you buying or selling the Pacers with a legitimate chance to knock off the Cavs in this series?
I think based on what we saw on Sunday evening, we have to at least consider it. Now, I think a lot of this, of course, hinges on the status of Darius Garland. And I was surprised that he ended up sitting out. I know even Rick Carlisle said in his pregame, he's like, yeah, we know Garland's going to play, essentially implying that this was just gamesmanship by the Cleveland Cavaliers. And not only did Garland not play, but now, the implication is that this could be something that lingers throughout the series. Who knows if he's going to be out there in game 2? If he is, you're dealing with a toe injury. That could be something that is pretty easy to tweak. And I mean, you're losing 20 points and 6 assists out of that starting lineup. So I don't want to minimize, the impact of losing somebody of that caliber. We're talking about an all-star in the Eastern Conference, but this was a really, really impressive statement by the Indiana Pacers. And I'm not surprised Indiana got off to a hot start. I mean, they've done that throughout the playoffs. They've done that throughout the regular season. They're a team that does tend to start quickly, but like you said, there were a couple times where it felt like, all right, here we go. The Cavs are turning it on. Donovan Mitchell is going to carry them, and they're eventually going to win this game at home. And every single time, the Indiana Pacers had an answer. Now, we also need to note that this was an incredibly hot shooting night for Indiana, 19 of 36 from beyond the arc. And meanwhile, the Cleveland Cavaliers went just 9 of 38. I think that was probably the biggest difference. I mean, plus 30 in terms of points via the three-pointer. I think the Cavs did a lot of things well. They had 70 points in the paint. I mean, they were a plus 32 in terms of points in the paint. They won the rebounding battle. They had fewer turnovers. They had a much better 2-point percentage. So I think if you're Cleveland, it's pretty easy to sell yourself on, okay, they're not shooting 19 of 36 again. We're probably not going 9 of 38. But look, again, if you take Darius Garland out of the mix, if he misses game 2, that's really dicey. That's really dicey to me. And I think the implication is that he will be back because the Cavs are 9.5-point favorites. They closed 7.5 on Sunday evening. But again, I think it's fair to wonder what version of Darius Garland are you getting? This is something that kept him out of 2 games in round 1 against Miami. And I know it's the Miami Heat. I know they're going to win that series no matter what, but you don't miss playoff games unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah, and you look at this Cleveland backcourt, and it's funny how this starting 5 has changed. Obviously, consistent down low with Mobley and Jared Allen, but you look at them 1 through 3, and this is a team that was running out Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and Isaac Okoro for most of the regular season. And now Okoro's relegated to the bench. Garland's out. And all of a sudden, you've got Sam Merrill and Max Strus in your starting 5. And I'm sorry, to me, that does not look like, 2/3 of your backcourt for a 1 seed's starting 5. As long as Merrill and Strus are out there, and I know Cleveland's got depth, and they've got Hunter and obviously Jerome, who gave them over 30 off the bench. But Indiana's one of the few teams that can match their depth. Cleveland is used to blowing teams away in bench points. They only were plus 4. In terms of bench points against the Pacers. Would you take Indiana's backcourt over the Cavs?
I mean, as currently constructed, I think so, right? So we're talking, Nembhard and Halliburton versus Mitchell, Strus, and Merrill, some combination of those 3. I mean, the Cavs kind of are doing what the Bucks tried against Indiana in round 1, which was, okay, we can't stop this team, so we're just going to put shooters out there. And they went with AJ Green and Gary Trent at the end of the series, and obviously it didn't work out for them, but they at least got production out of those guys. I don't know. I think they combined for 12 threes in that final game 5. Strus and Merrill are basically the same player in a lot of ways. I know Strus is a little bit bigger, a little bit more versatile, probably a better defender, but if you're starting those 2 guys, they cannot combine to go 4 of 13 from 3. Like, the whole point of having 2 knockdown shooters in the starting lineup is, okay, we're without Darius Garland, we're missing his playmaking, but we're going to make up for it because these guys are going to give us 8 or 9 combined 3-pointers. So I think that was the line of thinking. It did not work out. They went away from Sam Merrill pretty quickly, started this game, only ended up playing 18 minutes. And I really like a lot of these pieces for the Cavaliers. We talk about, Mobley and Allen. Mobley continues to improve as a kind of a one-on-one scorer. He's still not really there yet. Jared Allen subsists almost entirely on putbacks and, pick and roll feeds and dunks. He's not somebody that's going to create his own shot. So, if you got 2 shooters who aren't hot, you got, Evan Mobley, who's kind of on and off every game, you know what you're getting from Donovan Mitchell, and then you have somewhat of a non-one-on-one scorer in Jared Allen. It could get pretty difficult pretty quickly. And, Ty Jerome was good. He ended up as a plus 10 off the bench, but needed 20 shots to get to his 21 points. It was not an overly efficient night from Ty Jerome. But again, I think if you're the Cavs, you're selling yourself on, all right, Indiana is not going to shoot it at that level. Andrew Nembhard knocked down some wild shots in the second half, but they're facing a lot of the same issues that the Milwaukee Bucks were in round one, which is, okay, if we stop this guy, then all of a sudden we have to worry about the other guy. I think Indiana, everybody in that starting five can harm you to some degree. And I don't think you can say that right now about the five that the Cavaliers rolled out on Sunday.
Nick, let's get to Monday best bets. Boston minus $8 against the Knicks right now. The Knicks plus 550. It's got to be one of the biggest disparities I've seen for a second round matchup, especially between a 2 and a 3 in NBA postseason history. I'm all over the Celtics in 5, but is 9 points too many for them to be laying 9.5 in game one? This is a Boston team, and they were favorites of 8 or more this season. They covered just under 45% of the time. So would you consider taking the points with the Knicks? What bets are you looking for in this game?
Yeah, I would think about it. There could be some rust here for Boston. Obviously a long layoff. You had some guys who missed time with injuries in round one. You wonder about Drew Holiday specifically, but I'm with you, man, as far as having some concerns about the Knicks as well. I mean, give the Pistons credit. They put up a great fight, especially defensively in that series, but Detroit shot 32% from three in that series. And, New York still was struggling to win every single one of those games. I mean, extreme reliance on Jalen Brunson, which, again, you can get away with against the Detroit Pistons. You cannot get away with that against Boston. You can't get away with inconsistent contributions from Cat, inconsistent nights from McCall Bridges. And, you look at some of the defensive matchups I think that Boston can throw at Jalen Brunson. And again, that's a big time concern for me. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, even Jason Tatum is comfortable guarding smaller guys. And yeah, New York, they could throw OG Anunoby, they could throw McCall Bridges on Jason Tatum. That's all well and good. But again, everybody in this Boston lineup can hurt you. And we're even digging into the bench. I mean, they go 7-8 deep with guys that you have to worry about. So I think there are just so many more advantages right now on the Boston side. Knicks were 0-4 straight up against Boston in the regular season. They were outscored by 13 points per game in those games. They were 0-10, by the way, against Boston, Cleveland, and OKC. Read into that whatever you want. Yep. But I like Celtics in 5 at plus 215 right now. As far as game one goes, I would look at the under 101.5 on the Knicks team total. Went under that number a couple of times in the Detroit series. Both these teams bottom 5 in pace this season. Both teams among the best three-point shooting defenses in the NBA. And, if you're not quite comfortable taking the full number with Boston, maybe look at the Celtics minus 4.5 in the second half. They're one of the best second half teams in the NBA. Knicks basically neutral in terms of their second half margin numbers. And, saw a few times in that Orlando series where Boston got off to a sluggish start, stepped on the gas in the third quarter.
I like it, Nick. Final minute, OKC Denver. What are your best plays in that game?
Yeah, this one, I would lean Denver to cover a big number in game one. As far as the total goes, I would look at the under 225.5. Worry about OKC maybe being a little bit rusty. They will have not played in over a week by the time that game tips off. And, defensively on the Nuggets side of things, playing against OKC can be a shock for anybody. I don't care who you're throwing out there. The way their guards and their wings attack you, I could see Denver struggling with that. Then in the prop market, looking at Jokic over 22.5 rebounds plus assists. Averaged 27 rebounds plus assists against Oklahoma City this season, and Aaron Gordon over 5.5 boards. That's the one area I think where you can really exploit Oklahoma City is on the glass. Bottom half of the league in terms of total rebound percentage. Denver finished the regular season number 2 in that stat, behind only the Rockets.
And that was an issue with the Thunder last year. If you recall, they were about a bottom 5 team on the glass a season ago. We got about 20 seconds before I have to get you out of here, but Denver team total 107.5. Would you lean under on that?
Oh man, I'm trying to do the mental math here. I think they probably come in somewhere in that like 106 to 112 range. I don't see this being an overly high scoring game. I think OKC could play so many different styles. Again, they could throw so many guys at you defensively, and I think ideally both these teams want to speed it up. I don't know that game one will be played at that pace, so it's a pass for me on the Denver team total, but I like that under 225.5.
Nick, great stuff, man. As always, appreciate the time.
Anytime, man. Have a good rest of the show.
Make sure you catch him on Prop Points 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern. And folks, make sure you get a VSiN Pro subscription right now, because for a limited time, we're slashing the price, normally $240 to $199 for an annual subscription. And we'll throw in 2 extra months for free. It's 14 months VSiN Pro access, less than 50 cents a day. You get daily best bets, our betting guides, exclusive splits, and so much more. So sign up now, vsin.com/subscribe.
Welcome back to Cash cashing out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, wrapping up the program, but just getting your week started here on The Big Show. It was a great weekend, especially with the playoffs. A lot of Game 7s on the ice in the NBA. Now we're getting second round action underway as we get the week started. We've also got some really intriguing games on the diamond to make some money on, both on the week, maybe some series prices, Monday. Let's get into it. It's time for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. So we've got a couple of game ones in the NBA and a game one on the ice. But I will say I have a lean in the NBA. Knicks +9, +9.5, depending on where you shop. I don't know if I'm going to get there on it. I think Boston wins the series in 5. I also don't like that price. +215 for an exacta seems a little light for me. But this series, look, I think that the Knicks are going to hang around. I just think that Boston, much like last year's conference finals against Indiana, where they swept the Pacers, Indiana was in 3 out of those 4 games till the very final seconds, right? I think the Knicks could be in most of these games, but I think Boston will ultimately have the better closing capabilities. So to me, 9.5 points, that's too many for a Celtics team that has covered under 45% of its games this year where they were favored by 8 or more. Boston knows they're the top dogs. They know they're the favorites. And sometimes, and I don't think that'll be the case necessarily against your biggest rival in the playoffs, but they have looked at times disinterested this year. Mainly in the regular season, but at times against Orlando too. Again, they're playing their biggest rival in franchise history. I don't think the Celtics are going to be disinterested in this one. I think that ultimately they're going to finish stronger, but I think the Knicks are going to leave it all out there with the rivalry included. And I think these games could be close. The series might not reflect that with a final, if it's 4-1 Celtics, but the individual games, I believe, will be close. So 9.5, likely too many for me. I'll tell you a series play I like on the other side, Western Conference. I was looking at this during the break. The Nuggets series spread. And this is a series I'm struggling with because if Oklahoma City dictates pace, they're far and away the best team in the NBA if they dictate pace. At least I'll say in the Western Conference. Boston, you can argue. But if Denver slows things down, who on Oklahoma City is going to effectively guard Jokic? I love Isaiah Hartenstein, right? He doesn't eat 40 minutes a game. It's tough sometimes to get 30 minutes out of Hartenstein. And if you're going to put Holmgren on Jokic, good luck. He'll snap him like a twig. So if Denver can dominate the pace, then they do have an advantage in the form of a 3-time MVP. If Oklahoma City does on the outside, I'm sorry. I love Russ. Russ had a great series coming off the bench. Jamal Murray's great. Christian Braun, stepped up at times when needed. Denver's backcourt just simply does not compare to Oklahoma City. And Jamal Murray, good luck putting up a 40-piece if Lou Dort is on you, right? Oklahoma City defensively, the two-way prowess of their backcourt and their guards is unmatched and unrivaled. And that's why if the guards dictate the pace, the Thunder should have their way. But that doesn't always happen. And these teams did split the regular series 2-2. And I struggle to see if this thing goes to a game 6 in Denver and OKC's up 3-2. I struggle to see Denver just laying down on their home court. Now that would take us to a game 7 and a series spread of Nuggets +1.5. If you're so inclined to jump on that, you can get Denver +1.5 at +230. Not a bad price. If you want to play a little safer, you can, and I like this a lot. You can get Denver +2.5 on the series spread, meaning that Denver will either win, lose in 7, or lose in 6. All 3 of those, and you have a winning ticket. You can get that at +115. It is very rare to get a plus money series spread of +2.5, especially on a team with a 3-time MVP. But at +115, I think that's a good play because I think Denver will certainly steal a game, if not 2, this series. And frankly, it wouldn't shock me if at the end of the day, it's OKC in 7. I think the Thunder prevail, but OKC in 7 would not shock me. Let's get to some best bets on the diamond for Monday. We are starting with the Dodgers run line in the MLB. We're laying a 1.5 against the Marlins. Now look, for a team that has the best record in baseball, we've lost a couple Dodger run line plays, and it's been frustrating when that happens, right? It happened Friday, and then Saturday, they have like the 10, 11 run outbursts behind Sasaki in Atlanta. After Friday with Yamamoto on the bump, they only gave the guy 2 damn runs to work with. Beyond frustrating. But we're getting a good price, minus 110. Alcantara's on the bump for the Marlins, former Cy Young winner. Last start for Alcantara was in LA. They're playing each other twice within a week. And he got absolutely bombarded and blasted. Chased with 7 earned runs before he could complete 3 innings in a 15-2 Dodger win. The Dodgers put up 34 runs in that sweep against Miami, by the way. And current LA hitters against Alcantara, 45 for 140. It's a 321 clip, a 935 OPS, and they have 8 home runs. Michael Conforto has taken him deep 3 times. Mookie Betts is hitting nearly 500 against him with 2 home runs. Max Muncy, 6 for 18 with a pair. Will Smith, 6 for 14. Ohtani's only 1 for 5. He's got the worst batting average against Alcantara, but he's also got a home run. Now, Brad Kasparius is the opener for LA. He's been stretched out to 2, 3, I believe 3 2/3 innings was his max this year. But in his 11 appearances, 5 of them have consisted of multiple innings of work. 5 of them have consisted of multiple scoreless innings of work. He's gone, 3 2/3 and given up 1 run. But 5 out of his 11 times he's gone out there, given him multiple innings and no runs allowed. Pretty good guy to set the table as an opener and then let the bullpen figure it out. But these bats, they swept Miami a week ago, 34 runs in 3 games. Alcantara didn't have a prayer. Now he's got that in the back of his mind. Didn't have a get-right start in between. He's right back at it against the same lineup. And when you get the same pitcher in the same lineup back-to-back times, advantage usually goes to the lineup. Give me the Dodgers run line, minus 10 cents. We're going Mets money line in Arizona, minus 105. Griff Canning all of a sudden is a guy who, Met fans moaned and groaned about when he was signed in the offseason. And now it's like, oh, Canning's pitching today? Let's go. He's 4-1 with a 2.6. Mets hitters against Ryan Nelson, meanwhile, 24 for 75 with 9 home runs in 75 at-bats. It's a 320 clip. It's an OPS over 1,200. Pete Alonso's 4 for 9 with 3 home runs. Maybe you look at him on a home run prop in Arizona. Juan Soto's got 2. Lindor's 4 for 8. Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo are combined 7 for 14. These guys send the limo to pick Ryan Nelson up and make sure he gets to the ballpark all right. How about the fact that Ryan Nelson, this is year 4 for him, parts of year 4. He's got a career ERA at home. I mentioned earlier during cashing out that he had some gnarly reverse home and away splits. Ryan Nelson's home ERA in his career is up near 6. The guy stinks at home. D-backs hitters against Griff Canning, just 7 for 40. Not the biggest sample size, but the way the Mets rake against Nelson, you're getting minus 105 at Arizona. Give me the Mets money line. They actually have a shorter travel distance than the Diamondbacks do, coming off an extra innings win Sunday in Philly. We're going to wrap it up with the Padres series price. I wanted to go game 1 money line. I love Pivetta, but Rodon's been hot lately. We're going Padres series price because it's a better price than game 1 and because they have bigger advantages on the bump in games 2 and 3. How about these pitching matchups? Game 1 is Pivetta, who's 6-1 with a 1.78. Phenomenal. Against Rodon, who's had 3 consistent, fabulous starts in a row. But game 2 is Michael King, San Diego's best pitcher, versus Clark Schmidt in a revenge spot for King as the Yankees sent him to San Diego in the Soto deal. And then game 3, Dylan Cease, who does not have good numbers this year on paper, but he's got great stuff, and he's opposite Carlos Cookie Carrasco, who at this point in his career is a pure batting practice pitcher. You gotta love San Diego getting plus 155 odds in this series. So we're locking in the Padres on that series price. And that'll do it for our best bets, which are, of course, brought to you by our friends over at GBank. Make sure you get the GBank Visa Signature Card today, folks. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances, even when you put your own money on the card. GBank treats gaming transactions as purchases, so you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees and gaming transactions right there. Also with GBank, you're getting 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cash back on all eligible purchases. So apply now. VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. That'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. And that'll do it for Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Another terrific show in the books. Don't forget, though, the great content here at VSiN never ends. VSiN by the books. Our guy Dave Ross on a well-deserved vacation. So Jensen Lewis is going to be holding it down with our friend Grace Remington at 7 a.m. Eastern, followed by a numbers game with our buddies Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidlin at 10, and then Money Moves, noon Eastern, Stormy Bonantoni and JVT. Special thanks to our incredible producer, Adam Bernard, for the program that he put together, and the rest of our team, Johnny, Jarens, Alexis, and Fenhouse. I'm Joe Ceraulo. That does it for Cashing Out. Let's do it again, Damani.